With that statement, I'm now going to turn to Kate Ahern, who has a most robust track record of achievements within the CASE Foundation, where she oversees, for instance, the pro bono campaign A Billion Plus Change, which is the largest corporate commitment of skills-based volunteers services in the US. With Kate, we are blessed to welcome a true expert in international development and corporate responsibility program. And it is a real honor to have you here, Kate, in Geneva with us today. And we are all eager to benefit from your views. The floor is all yours. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Oops. Start on the first slide. I'm not sure I'm an international development expert. I'm certainly surrounded by them, so I'm really glad to be here today. My name's Kate Ahern, and I am the VP of Social Innovation at the CASE Foundation, which is a family foundation based in Washington, D.C. We were founded by Steve and Jean Case. Steve, who's probably most famous for having started America Online, which literally got America online onto the internet many years ago. And his wife, Jean Case, actually helped to build the company. And so we as a foundation, we're about 17 years old, and we have been making grants for about that same amount of time. We have been thinking the last few years about, how do we supplement the grant making that we have been doing with investments into social enterprises and companies that are also working to change the world. So we've been thinking about impact investing. I want to just sort of level set by saying that philanthropy, the social sector, governments have all done amazing work. They have saved lives, they have provided education for children, they have built museums and theaters that we've all enjoyed. And they've solved a lot of the very critical problems that we've faced in our history. What we think, though, is that there might be an opportunity to bring a new actor into solving some of the challenges that have been really sticky and that we've had trouble solving. We think that there might be an opportunity to bring business into the business of solving social problems. And we think that impact investing might be a way to do that. So I'll just give you a brief definition, and then I'll give you a couple of examples, because when I talk about impact investing, a lot of times people they still don't quite know what I'm saying. And so there are many definitions. We are a fairly new industry in terms of one that's sort of becoming a little more sophisticated, coming together as a group who are sort of walking together. But here's one definition from me. There's a million. Anyone else up on this stage would probably give you something slightly different. But I would say that an impact investment is an investment made into a business, organization, or fund that's hoping to deliver both a financial and a social return. So it could be a for-profit, could be a nonprofit, could be an interesting, innovative financial deal or financial model. A lot of times people say, okay, I got it. I got the big picture definition. Can you give me some examples? So I'll give you 3 examples. The first one is Revolution Foods. Revolution Foods was started by 2 moms in California who realized that the food that their kids were getting at their public schools every day for lunch was terrible. It was fatty, it was salty, it was hardly real food. It wasn't something that they'd want to feed to their children. And yet, school systems across the United States are so stretched in their budgets that they have approximately $3 per kid per day to be able to feed them. I had a croissant this morning, and I would say it was more than $3. And so when you think about putting together a nutritious lunch, it's hard to think about how you do that for $3. But the 2 founders said, this is a real problem. We, in the United States, as many know, have an obesity crisis. Childhood obesity has doubled in the last 30 years. Adolescent obesity has quadrupled in the last 30 years. And so when we're thinking about one of the 3 meals per day that we're feeding our kids, let's try to do a better job. And so the two founders, they're both named Kristen, they said, we're going to figure it out. We're going to find a way to, for $3 a day, produce lunches that are real food, that are fresh, that are local wherever possible, and that are affordable, of course, for the school systems. And they've done it. They're serving 200,000 meals per day to children across the United States. They did $100 million in revenue last year. And so if you're thinking as an investor or a philanthropist, anyone who's concerned about social good and also concerned about sustainability of a business model, both of those numbers are great. Hundreds of thousands of kids are getting fresher food and better food, and they're well on track to return dollars to their investors. Another example is SolarCity. Again, this is in the US. I'll get to an international example next. SolarCity provides solar installations for energy in the United States, and they're solving two problems. First problem is that most of the energy produced in the United States is from fossil fuels. Second problem is that our grid is overstretched. There are blackouts in the United States in the summer when we can't produce enough energy to meet needs of households and businesses. And so SolarCity said, well, we know that solar panels have been around a long time. The model seems not to be working for most people. What usually had to happen in the past is that you would have to buy a solar installation, which was hugely expensive, and then hope that over many, many years that it provided you your money back, that sort of made up for that initial investment. What SolarCity said is, we'll loan you the installation. We'll pay for all of the upkeep. If something breaks, we'll come and fix it. What we want you to do is sign a long-term contract with us to use the solar panels and to get your energy from solar. And so this disruption of the model, and many disruptions like it, we know that the Europeans actually are far ahead of the United States in terms of using solar energy. This model lets more people use solar. This model has made solar energy one of the number one fastest growing source of energy in the world. And so companies like SolarCity are disrupting models. SolarCity specifically went public in 2012 with a market cap of about $600 million. They went public at about $8 a share. They're now trading at over $50 a share. And so again, as an investor, you could say, this is a company that's doing good by producing a new source of energy for homes and businesses to use. And they're on track to be able to really, pay us back some money and give us, and do what investors need, of course, which is to get a return on their investment. One final example is a group called Living Goods. Living Goods is actually a nonprofit that incubates micro-enterprises. Living Goods was started in Uganda. And they essentially support micro-franchisees, so women who are owning their own businesses, to provide healthcare products and healthcare knowledge and information to homes at the base of the pyramid, to families at the base of the pyramid. So Living Goods is based on sort of the Avon model. And as I was writing this, I said, I'm not sure if people in Europe know Avon, and so I'll explain it. Avon was started in the 1800s in the United States as a way for women to get access to cosmetics. Women were home most of the day, probably with the kids. They were alone. They didn't have, department stores that they could just sort of pop out to and drive to. And so Avon was created for women to go to their homes and to sell them cosmetics. The Avon ladies, as we call them, they were their own businesses. They bought the products and then sold them to women customers. And, each group took a cut. Living Goods uses the same model. So they empower mostly women. There's a few men that are starting to get into the game. Micro-entrepreneurs, and they give them 2 weeks of training on sort of basic health information on, safe pregnancy or on malaria prevention, and bed nets or on clean cook stoves. They give them a loan to buy the first, bucket and basket of goods that they might want to sell. And they give them a blue T-shirt that says Living Goods. And because Living Goods has become a trusted brand, this is really important for them to be able to sell to people who are, frankly, very suspicious of a lot of the products on the market because so many are counterfeit. So what has Living Goods done? So as a nonprofit, they're incubating companies and working to build a sustainable model that won't require future philanthropy. They have served 1,000 franchisees have served 500,000 children in their households. And what we're seeing is some ancillary effects like counterfeit drugs are disappearing from the shelves of places where Living Goods is working. Because why would you go buy counterfeit goods at the pharmacy when the lady's going to come to your house and provide you something that you know is trusted and actually at a cheaper price because Living Goods is able to buy in bulk. So their goods are typically cheaper than when you would buy on the shelf. They've contracted with MIT University in the United States in Boston to do a randomized controlled trial to test whether their goal of reducing child mortality by 15% in the places that they're working is working. The RCT will come out in 2015. It looks like preliminary findings are good. So more to come, but I think we're really excited to see what comes out of this really interesting company. So those are 3 examples. And so bringing it back around to sort of why does it matter? You know, okay, so these are 3 great individual companies. Now what do we do? My boss, Gene Case, who is the founder of the Case Foundation, uses a boat analogy, and it's kind of nice. I'm staying at the President Wilson Hotel, which is right on the water. It's very lovely. And when you think about a boat, let's say there's 10 people rowing a boat together. If all of those people are rowing at different speeds, some of them are taking a break, some of them are listening to their iPods, you know, and they're not all working together, that boat isn't going anywhere fast. But if everyone's rowing together, if all of those 10 oars are in the water and pulling at the same speed at the same time, that boat is going further, faster. And so we need government to keep doing the work that it's doing. We need philanthropy to keep picking up the tab for the things that are hard to fund. We need nonprofits to continue to innovate on the great work that they do. And we need business to think about the ways that it can use market forces, entrepreneurship, and their power of innovation and their talent to affect the social sector. What's next in impact investing? You know, I'll come back around to this is a fairly new field. You know, there have been pioneers who've been doing this for many years, but I'd say sort of as a big group, we're just coming around to really doing this together. And I think at this point, there's a few things that we need. I think we need less talk and more action. I think we need some folks to just try some things, you know, especially for foundations. We say this all the time. We say, you're giving your money away. You should be the risk takers. Let's think about how we can take the risks that can prove out the models to let more people enter this space. We need more clarity. You know, I gave you one definition of impact investing, but there's thousands. And really, you know, you talk to one investor about what they think an impact investment is. You talk to one investor about what an impact investment is. And so we need a little bit more to, you know, to sort of coalesce around what do we mean when we talk about this, so that we can effectively, communicate what we mean. We need more data. You know, in any new field, we don't have a lot of information on returns. We don't have a lot of information on the financial returns that are possible. And we don't have a lot of information on the social returns that have happened so far from impact investments. That will come. That it is happening. We are seeing some good data coming out of a number of places, but we need more. And I think as we move forward, sort of more deals will help us to gain more data on what's working. And I hope that the early investors who are in this space are willing to sort of say, this deal worked, this deal didn't. Here's why. Here's where we've been making money. Here's where we haven't, and here's why we think that is. We need more stories for people to sort of bring them into the tent. You know, some people they're not inspired by the data, they're inspired by the stories. They say, you know, I've been granting money to education for 30 years, and you're telling me that I can invest in a company that will do, you know, the same or better work, and I might be able to get a return on my money. People love that. People love the stories and the examples of those opportunities. And finally, we need better policy. This, you know, national, state, local level policy that first of all, incentivizes impact investing, right? Makes it easier for folks to do it. And second, removes barriers to impact investing. Right now in a lot of places, especially the United States, there are policies that are real inhibitors to doing more impact investing, and we're working to change that. So I'll leave you with this, and I look forward to speaking more about this, but we all know how to make money, and I think the private sector has absolutely been the driver of some of the most amazing progress that we've seen in human history. But sometimes the private sector has worked at the expense of some. Impact investing shows that there's a way to utilize the private sector, to use the power of entrepreneurship, to use the power of the markets and of sustainable business models to add to the work that philanthropy, government, and nonprofits are doing to create social change. So we all know how to make money more. We all know how to make more money, but we all want to also be able to make money more. What if we could make it more powerful in solving social problems? What if we could make it more impactful in the work that we do? Thank you for taking the time to listen and for having me today, and I look forward to more discussion.